Well, alright, welcome back to As It Should Be. Paul Bertolino here in the world-famous As It Should Be Studios. And, well, today I am going to be doing another recent record roundup video. Yeah, I figured, this is the first week of fall. It's the first week of fall, so I thought what I would do is a recent record roundup of all of my acquisitions of the summer. I believe my last one was before the summer, right? Maybe April or May, something like that. Well, yeah, this is the records that I have picked up or acquired or stolen over the course of the summer. All right. Let's get right into it, huh? All right. And what better way to start? What better way to start with Sloan? Yes, Sloan. Yeah, the most recent Sloan album. This is their album Steady from 2022. I discussed it on our 2022 Albums of the Year video. I didn't have the vinyl yet when we made that video, but I have it now. Yeah, I got this very, very recently. And, it's really nice. Like a nice thick, the old classic cardboard cover with a tip-on back jacket, and it's just really nicely made. And it's a really great album. Like I said, this is Sloan's most recent album, and one of the better of their more recent albums. I'm hoping they have a new one coming out soon. I mean, they should be about due, right? It's been a couple of years. It's about time. It's about time. Sloan, Steady. All right, so coming up next, I have Bart and the Bedazzled. Yeah, Bart and the Bedazzled. Yeah, this is an album from 2018, and it is called Blue Motel, right? Blue Motel. I don't have my glasses on. Blue Motel. And, well, Bart and the Bedazzled features my friend and former bandmate, Bart Davenport. I've talked about him on Albums of the Year videos as well. I actually, unfortunately, criminally missed this for our 2018 album video. This would have been on the list if I had really gone into it at the time. Now, that cover there. Let me show you a little of this before I get into it. Nice inner sleeve. Lots of photos. Very little information. Lots of pictures of Bart wearing sunglasses in the studio because, the tracks were really bright. Really bright tracks. But, anyway, he's on the, how do you pronounce it? Leger? It's a German label that also puts out Young Gun Silver Fox's albums. So, yeah, my friend Bart, he's on the same label as Young Gun Silver Fox. I'm so jealous. But, yeah, this record. So, now I was aware of this album, actually, before we did the 2018 video. But I went on a little jag going through his stuff because I kind of lost, touch with his stuff. He'd put out at least 2 or 3 albums that I hadn't really been up to date with. And I went and started listening to his more recent stuff, and he used to be a bit more, at first he was kind of a 60s guy, 60s garage guy, and then he kind of went into a 70s singer-songwriter phase. Well, I caught him getting a little 80s, and I was like, oh man, 80s? And I just kind of went, all right, and I just didn't really dig too deep into it. I thought, oh, Bart's going 80s, huh? Oh, well, okay. And I went really surface with the record, and I didn't really give it the chance that it deserved, and didn't go into it. So by the time we were doing the 2018 albums, I had already, thought, well, I don't know about that one. So fast forward to just a few weeks ago, I actually saw Bart and the Bedazzled open up for the Ocean Blue. Paul Core alert. And the Ocean Blue was doing a show where they were playing their first album in its entirety, and Bart was opening up. And so I went to the show, and Bart played a whole bunch of stuff. They played a whole bunch of stuff from this album, and it was so good. It was so good. See, the thing is, Bart, he writes great songs. He has a great voice. He has an excellent voice. He's one of those people that when you hear him live, he sounds just like the record. He has that kind of a voice. Because some people, you hear him on the record, and then you hear him live, and it's just kind of like, oh, that's their live voice. No. Bart sounds exactly like the record. So I watched them play this stuff live, and I went, oh, man, boy, was I wrong. Boy, was I wrong. This stuff is so good. And so I picked up a copy of the album, and you know, maybe a little late, but better late than never. Yeah, Barton the Bedazzled with Blue Motel. Check it out. All right. So, coming up next is a little bit of, well, it's one of those records. You know, on these videos, I always have at least a couple or a bunch of records that I bought that I already have owned forever, that I may even have more than one copy of. Well, this is one of those records. The Runaways, Queens of Noise. Now, you know, as you probably saw recently, hopefully you've seen, if you're somebody who watches my channel regularly, I did a recent track versus track of the first two Runaways albums. And the copy that I had on hand when I did that video was actually my crappiest copy. Like, it had a cut corner and, you know, ring wear. It was just my most unsightly copy. It was the only one I had handy, so that's the one I showed in that video. I have shown my other copy in other videos because it's a signed copy. I have it up on the wall up there, and I can't get it right now. And it's not as nice as this, but it's way, way nicer than the one I showed in the track versus track video, and it's signed. Well, recently I was at a record store here in Brooklyn, and I ran across an absolutely stunning copy. A just glistening, like, museum piece of a copy. Didn't have shrink. See, this is in shrink and has like the little, you know, Jimmy's Music World price sticker on it and everything. Well, this isn't that copy. It didn't have shrink on it, nothing. It was an open copy, but honestly, it was even nicer than this one. It was about $30, and I was hesitant to pay $30 for an album I already had two copies of, but it was just so beautiful. So I took it over to the listening booth, and I listened to it, and it sounded like garbage. Just sounded like complete crap. And the record was glistening, but it was a bad pressing. So I didn't buy it. Fast forward, you know, a few weeks, and I run into this copy, shrink, really nice copy. And even in shrink, it's not as gorgeous as the one I didn't buy, but it's still pretty damn nice. Listen to this one, sounds much, much better. So I picked it up. So this basically, you know, it has the insert, the whole thing. Excuse me while I take a minute to put this back in. Ah, shit. Okay, there we go. You know, the Mercury inner sleeve, the whole thing. So this basically is my number one copy now, and probably, I don't know if I can really improve on this unless I find a sealed one, right? I don't know. But, yeah. So there you go. That is my third copy of Queens of Noise. All right. So coming up next, I have Sport Paulcore. And I actually just picked this up today. Yeah, this is my talk. You are as up to date as you could possibly get. I bought this today. Yeah, well, this is Beauty and Sadness by the Smithereens. Yeah, this is their 1983 EP. Now, this is not my first copy of this EP, but it's my first copy of this pressing of this EP. Now, they didn't get signed. The Smithereens formed in 1980, but they didn't get signed until around 85, 86. The first album came out in 86. They got signed to Enigma. But they put out a couple of independent releases, you know, over the course of the first half of the 80s. They put out an EP really early on. I don't remember when it came out, like really early, maybe even 80, 81 when that came out. But then a couple years later, they put this EP out on a little label called Little Ricky. And it's like here, is it Manhattan or Brooklyn, whatever. But they only made like 3,000 copies of it. And so kind of, you know, it became rare and vanished and all that kind of stuff. And then they get signed to Enigma, and in 86 they put out the first album. In 88, Enigma did a reissue of this, but they completely remixed it, you know, changed the track listing and everything, and, you know, made it, to be honest, they made it actually sound a lot better, way better, and they made it kind of sound more like their Enigma records. Now, for years and years and years, that's all I had. I only just today, for the first time, ran into an original 1983 Little Ricky copy. That's what this is. I never see them. Again, there's only 3,000 of them out there, and in beautiful condition. Yeah, so I had to pick it up. Now, the mix on this is way different. There's the label. Yeah, the mix is way, 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 way different on this. So it was worth getting, not just because, it's like, ooh, it's on the original label. I mean, it's an entirely different mix. I think I suspect they even probably added guitars and vocals and things to the remix that they did in '88. This one's radically different, so it was very much worth getting. And yeah, I've been wanting one of these forever, and I only just finally today got a copy. Now I need to find that early EP, like Girls About Town. Yeah, now talk about tough to get. Anyway. So coming up next. The Marlows. Yeah, this record just came out just this past month. The Marlows with their album Perak. And this is an Indonesian band. If you watched Paul Core TV, PTV, Paul Core Television, that video where I did like an MTV style presentation where I showed videos of all these modern bands that I talk about that I love. Well, yeah, this only just recently came out. In fact, I believe I did PTV the video before the album actually came out. So yeah, well, the album has since been released, and I have got myself a copy. This is on really nice green transparent vinyl. I don't know if it's really coming through on the video, but it's really nice looking. And it's really nice sounding. For the uninitiated, I realize I should probably talk about how these records sound, right? Or what kind of music this is, because you may not know who the Marlows are. As I was mentioning, they are an Indonesian band. They're kind of like one of those retro soul bands, very 70s, just very, very 70s soul. And great band. I really, really recommend checking out if you like all the dap tone bands and all those, old school soul bands that are out right now. Check out the Marlows for sure. All right. So, up next, Wise Blood. Yeah, Wise Blood with a 2016 album, Front Row Seat to Earth. Yeah, and now this is another one of those albums where it was on Albums of the Year. This was on the 2016 Albums of the Year. It was on my list, but I didn't actually have a copy of the album at the time. I just recently got this. In fact, I got this the same day that I got the Bart and the Bedazzled album. And comes complete with a poster. Yeah. So here we have Wise Blood singing by herself out in the mountains somewhere. I don't know. I suspect maybe she's off the 5, maybe off the Grapevine, down in the canyons down there. I don't know. Just singing, hanging out, singing. To whom? To the deer? I don't know. But it's cool. There's a poster in her sleeve. I'm not sure if this is colored vinyl. No, it's not colored vinyl. But it does have a download card, as it should be. But yeah, this is definitely a great album. She's a great singer-songwriter. She has a lot of really mellow stuff. It's really dramatic, but it's just really beautiful. She has an incredible voice. I've talked about this so many times. People have seen me talk about her. Like, yeah, we know Wise Blood's voice. She has an incredible voice. She has probably the best voice out there right now. Honestly, I can honestly say that I think she's probably the single best vocalist on the scene right now. Gorgeous. Joni Mitchell meets Karen Carpenter. Really nice, deep, warm, beautiful voice. Excellent songwriter. Really cool, really smart, cool person. Check out Wise Blood. Okay, coming up next. It's been a good couple months since I got this one. This is Animal Stories. What the hell's Animal Stories? Animal Stories, Uncle Lair and Little Tommy. Okay, now I've talked about, there was one video, I think maybe made one video where I talked about the DJ from Chicago, Larry Lujack. Larry Lujack is a classic radio DJ, started out in the 60s. His heyday was in the 70s. That was like the meat of his career, and he went into the 80s and beyond. But he was in Chicago, and he was on WLS, and he was on CFL, and he had a lot of different. He had the Clunk Letter of the Day that he would do every single day. He would come into work early, and he would go through the letters, and all the ones that were, people just idiots and stuff that was just ridiculous. He would read the letters on the air and basically, make a joke out of it. But he also had a thing called Animal Stories that he would do with this other DJ, Tommy Edwards, and they would do it every day. And it's absolutely hilarious. Because people would send in a lot of, again, back to the letters, people would send in a lot of mail. People would send in stories that they would see, in local newspapers or things that they would find, or they would hear word of mouth. These stories, these hilarious stories that involved animals, pet owners, zoo people who ran zoos or whatever, just people encountering animals out in the wild, whatever, just these absolutely hilarious stories. And it was an extremely popular thing that they were doing on the radio at the time. And they did it every day, to the point where come 80, 81, 83, they were putting out records of this stuff. And these are actually recordings of Animal Story segments from actual broadcasts. And these records sold. I mean, these were big records. This was a big thing. I mean, basically, if you're from Chicago, then you know what I'm talking about. I'm not from Chicago, but I only know about this because of air checks, and, everything's on the internet now, so basically the world becomes a teeny tiny little place, and everybody knows about everything. But if you don't know about Larry Lujack and Animal Stories, get on it. All right. All right. So, coming up next, another installment, 2 records, for another installment of the, I already have these, I've had them forever, but I had to buy them again. The Carpenters, with We've Only Just Begun, and this is a song for you, right? Yes, this is a song for you. Yeah. Now, I've had every Carpenters album for a gazillion years. I'm a big Carpenters fan. But none of the copies I have of any Carpenters albums are here, and I ran into these for $2 each. These were $2, and they're absolutely sparkling. I'm like, this We've Only Just Begun is just stunning, a beautiful copy. And I thought, well, for $2, I wouldn't mind having one handy to play, and maybe one I could show in a video. But yeah, anybody who hasn't gone in with the Carpenters, if you have listened to their singles, of course you've heard their singles, and if you like them, go into the records, man. These records are great. There are all kinds of great deep tracks on these that you're missing out, man. If you've only been listening to the Greatest Hits album, or if you've only just, have heard them on the radio, or say, oh yeah, I like Rainy Days and Mondays. There's so much good, there's a couple of dorky things here and there on a couple of these albums, but for the most part, these are really excellent records, and I wholeheartedly recommend them. Up next, you probably already knew about this one because I did a video about this one. I did a review of this one, but it's one of the albums I got over the summer, so I'm showing it in this video. Red Cross. Yeah, Red Cross with their self-titled album, Red Cross. Of course, the whole idea is that it's their double album. It's their white album. It's a double album called Red Cross. The album cover, of course, being a terry cloth beach towel, because Red Cross is, they're from Southern California. They're from LA. And, this album just came out. They just came out this summer. It just came out in June. Excellent new Red Cross album. Yeah, now these guys, they've been going for years and years. They've been going since 1980. Well, since 79, but they've been releasing records since 1980. And honestly, this is one of their best. This I would put up there with, in the ballpark of the classics of Red Cross. So anybody who likes Red Cross, who hasn't dug into the new album yet, what the hell are you waiting for? Alright. Another band who's been around for a long time, who's been putting out albums recently. This is from a couple years ago, though. Anyway, The Zombies. Yeah, The Zombies with Different Game. Now, this is their most recent album. They reunited around 2000, 2001. Rod Argent and Colin Blunstone did, and it took them a couple years to start making records, but yeah, they basically have been doing the Zombies for over 20 years now. Just recently, Rod Argent did he have a stroke? He had some sort of major health scare, a stroke, and so he immediately ceased all touring, so he immediately retired from the road, which really sucks, because the Zombies have been an incredible live band for the past 20 years. I've seen them numerous times, and I can't even tell you. Like, as far as bands coming out and playing shows later on, a shining example of excellence is the Zombies. They sound great, and they make great records. I mean, okay, the records are a little spotty, but it's the Zombies. They make this is pretty good stuff. I mean, there's some songs on this that I really love, some songs on this I really don't love. But when this album came out, I didn't buy it right away because I wanted to get a signed copy of it on vinyl. I had seen copies out there, but every time I went to look any place where they were for sale, they didn't have them. They would have a CD signed, or, you know, there was an edition where you can buy the record and it came with a card that was signed or whatever. I'm like, no. Album cover signed. Well, just recently on their website, boom, they dropped copies of it with the front album cover signed, and I went, click, and I finally got myself a copy. So that is why I finally only just got this. Otherwise, I would have bought it when it came out. Yeah, so I'm glad I waited, because here you go, here's my signed copy. Well, that's the other thing too, is that past albums they've had signed editions of, it's really just been Colin and Rod signing them. This is the first one where everybody in the band has signed the record. So now this record, actually, okay, this isn't quite, technically this is not an album that I bought recently. I'm actually showing this as a little bit of it's kind of a straggler from a video I just made recently. I recently did a video showing albums by actors and TV stars, right? Hopefully you saw that video. If you haven't, go check it out. Showing all the albums that I have in the world famous As Should Be archives of TV actors who made records. You know, JJ and Fonzie and you know, all those people. Florida from Good Times, all those people, the Brady Bunch, you name it. Well, when I put out that video, Robert Fitton, shout out to Robert Fitton, he commented and he mentioned the Donnie Most album. And I was like, oh shit, the Donnie Most album. I didn't show that. I know I have that. But I didn't, I thought, okay, I must have overlooked it in the archives. And I thought, wait, no, I think it's here. And I looked around, and it was here. I do have it. I have the Donnie Most album. Yeah, good old Donnie Most, Ralph Malph from Happy Days. Yeah, so this isn't a recent acquisition, but I wanted to show it because it's a record that I really is too bad that it had to miss being shown in that particular video. So I'm showing it in this one. I gave it a little spin today, and it's pretty lame. Like most records of this ilk, it's pretty lame. But it's not disco-y. When did this came out? I think this came out this is 75. So it's not really disco-y. We haven't gotten yet to that point where everything has to be disco-y. It's a little, it's poppy, but in that sort of, you know how in the mid-70s, maybe around 75, you had those bands that were a little Southern California-ish, like there was the song Beach Baby, Give a Hand, like that kind of stuff. It's kind of in that vein, but with a lot less meat. You know, it's like a kind of a lame TV show version of it, basically. But he does a couple of really terrible covers. Okay. Let's do this. Oh, okay, he does One of These Days, which is a Barry Manilow song that I absolutely love from the first Barry Manilow album. Just a completely stiff, soulless version. He does Hey Baby. Hey Baby. It's terrible. Boney Maroney. Come on, Ralph. Other than that, I mean, you know, other than that, it's a bunch of songs that you won't know, but they're pretty lame. And his singing, he can hit the notes, but he just has no soul, and he's just kind of, yeah, I don't know. Donnie Most, Ralph. Now, this I did recently pick up. I've been wanting to pick this up for a long time, and there was a copy of this at a particular record store in Queens that every time I went there, it just sat there and it taunted me, and I didn't buy it until one day I went, okay, I'm going to the store. If they have it, this time I'm buying it. And that is ELO's Secret Messages, the double album version. Yeah, this was originally supposed to be a double album, but ELO wasn't selling really huge in the early 80s. This isn't their 83 album, and I think the label made them pare it down to just a single disc. Well, just a few years ago, Jeff Lynne put it out on vinyl as the original intended double album. And I really love Secret Messages. I think this is a great, underrated ELO albums, so I really wanted to get the double album version. So I went and I bought this, and it was sealed, and it had been sitting there for however long, because I'm not sure when this came out. Glasses again. Oh, come on, Paul, just keep wearing the damn glasses, will you? 2018. And so I bought it, and I brought it home, and it's warped. And it's warped. So, and I didn't take it back. I don't know. Should I have taken it back? That's the thing. It was in a used store, so it wasn't being sold as a new retail item. It was actually being sold in a used store as just a sealed item. So I don't know if I could really have taken it back and said, hey, this is warped. Maybe I could have. I don't know. I basically just kind of shrugged and went, I don't know. I have it. Can't play it. It's warped. I don't know. I should have taken it back. All right, so just two more. Now, up next is another album that has been on our recent Albums of the Year videos. Oh no, I did have this at the time. I showed it. Yeah, I showed it, but I bought it over the summer, so I guess I'm going to show it in the video. James Hunter 6. Yeah, with Nick of Time. Yeah, and this is 20 something. I showed it on a recent episode, and this is an absolutely great album that probably should have made my number one for that year. This is so, another one of those great kind of retro albums. It's more of a retro early 60s soul kind of a thing. I talked about it before. Very Sam Cooke-ish, just like that sort of pre-Beatles 60s vibe. It actually has the sound. Everything about not just the songwriting, but the way it was recorded. I mean, if I played you a track from this and didn't tell you what it was, and then told you that it was a recent recording, you would tell me I was full of shit. Yeah, this is absolutely an incredible album, and another one of those records that has a really nice cardboard cover with the tip-on back jacket that perfectly matches the music that is contained herein. I heartily recommend that you check out the James Hunter 6. Almost dropped it. Okay, one more album. My last album. Joe Bataan with Afro-Filipino. Yeah, this is his 1975 album. Okay. Now, I love Joe Bataan, and I've been buying his records for I don't know, since maybe the mid-2000s or whatever. It was maybe early to mid-2000s. I kind of got wind of Joe Bataan and started listening to his stuff and started picking up his albums. And recently I ran into a copy of this at a record store here in Brooklyn, and it was only $5. Not this copy. And it was pretty beat up. That's why it was $5, because this is a pretty expensive record. But I took it over to the listening station because I wanted to check it out. I wanted to just see, just hear the record because I hadn't heard it before. And I was playing it and going, man, I really like this record. I would really love to buy it. But that copy was just too beat. Even for $5, it was just like, I'm not going to play this because, yeah, it was the kind of beat where it was just like, it was just going to ruin my needle if I kept playing it. So I didn't buy that copy. So fast forward a couple of months later, maybe just a few months later, I run into this copy. And it's more expensive. How much was this? It was in the $20 range, something like that. And it's in really great condition. And I went and I listened to it. Sounded great. Thought, I'm definitely buying this. And on that day when I bought this, I forgot that just like that weekend, I was going to be going to see Joe Bataan. He plays now just up the street from here. There's this place called Union Pool. It's a venue. It's a bar venue. And throughout the summer, every Sunday, they have free shows. They have a inside venue area, but then they have a back patio area where they have these free shows and they have bands play live. And Joe Bataan does it every year. And he was playing that weekend. And the day that I bought this, it didn't even dawn on me like, oh yeah, I'm going to be going to see Joe Bataan in a few days. So when I went, I brought this record. So I had him sign it. Yeah, so that was absolutely wonderful. Great to it was the first time I ever got to see Joe Bataan, so it was really amazing to be able to see him and to be able to meet him and get him to sign that record. There you go. That is my recent record roundup for the summer of 2024. And hopefully you hopefully you're into it. Yeah, anyway, all right, well, thank you everybody for watching. Thank you everybody for subscribing if you have, and if you haven't, maybe consider subscribing. But if you do, click the little bell because of notifications. And well, come back this week, come back this Thursday, because Crystal Durant and Tommy Von Voigt are going to be back here in the world famous Azure Studios, and we are going to be discussing our favorite albums of 2023. Yeah. The Albums of the Year series is coming to a close. We're just about there. We have one more video. It's going to be a Album of the Year wrap-up. And then at the end of the year, we're going to do 2024. So that's going to be that for Albums of the Year. But we do have more videos coming up other than Albums of the Year, so just stay tuned in the coming weeks to find out about those. And yeah, I will see you then.